demonstration, we are going to set up a configurable dashboard for an organization purchasing medical supplies from a vendor. So we're going to start out, we're going to have a user who is a buyer. We're going to have a manager for that buyer who has to do approvals for that buyer. And then once the order goes over another threshold, a director is going to have to do approvals as well. So we're going to create a dashboard view for each type of user within the buying organization. Let's start out going to configurable dashboards. We're going to create a new dashboard. We're going to call it Northwell Hospital. And then we're going to go in and actually configure the dashboard layout. So let's start off by saying that we're going to take and add a component to start. Let's show the grid. We're going to start out by adding a display of the credit available. So we're going to say we want to include that component. Next, we're going to take and add in a specific component to show the actual orders included in this process. So we're going to select business interactions and add that. And then we're going to go through and add products. You can see from the display, these are highlighted in red around the outside. That indicates that I need to configure each of these individual items. So let's go into our gear icon in the upper right. And we need to select the business interaction type that we're actually using within this. So ours is actually, we're going to say this customer is going to be buying from Medline. We're going to leave it that we want business interactions and that we want 15 to be the initial list. You can see I'm not specifying any queries on this one. I'm just going to use the defaults. And then I'm going to go through and modify what I actually want to show up within the details. So I'm going to say that instead of primary party, I'm going to want to show PO number in here. So that's going to be a label. And I'm going to say PO number. And then I'm going to select the identifier for the PO field. So that's my P purchase order. I also want to be able to take and show another label. In this case, this is going to be the rush shipping. And this is going to allow me to check if the rush shipping flag is selected within this item. So say rush shipping. And we'll go in and say save at this point. So now we see the red box is no longer around my component. So I've set up the base configuration of this component. Let's go in and we'll set up the next one. So for the actual products, we're going to select configure from the upper right side. And in this case, we're just going to say we want anything that's a viax, let's say configurable product. And we'll want that to show within here. So we'll say viax config durable saleable and we'll want to see 15 of those. So we'll save. Now we want to go in and control the visibility of these components. So for the first one, for the business interactions, we're only going to want somebody with an admin role able to access these. So I'm going to go and select my role of admin. And now I can go and save what I have so far. So this is what I have set up so far for this particular dashboard. I can see the actual components that are being populated with the information, so I can see what the display is going to look like. And now I'm ready to go through and configure the next part of my dashboard. So now we're going to take and do the second part of this process in creating this dashboard, and that is to take in, create components that are going to filter the content delivered based on the user's role. In this case, managers and directors. We're going to want them to see specifically which orders they need to give their approvals on. So we're going to start off by selecting back on setup again. We're going to add a new section to the bottom, so I'll select this bottom plus sign. And then I'm going to come in and say I want to take and add in this case, I'm going to add in the business interactions twice because there's going to be one view of this for the director and one view of this for the manager. So we're just going to take and add in business interaction component again. We're going to assign role to this. So since we've got managers and directors, we want to be able to take and allow our admins to be able to see this. So that's what I'm logged in as right now to be able to create this. So I'm going to go in and select admin. I want to take and add in my manager and my partner role. So there's manager. The director actually has a profile of partner assigned. So let's go through and add partner in. So only people with these or user accounts with these three roles, one of these three roles assigned to their profile, will be allowed to take and see this specific container within viax. Again, I've got the red box around the outside. I've got a message saying this component requires configuration. The save button up at the top at the upper right here does not become active until I take and configure these. So I'm going to go in and set the display and the configuration of these individual components based on role. So the first one, I'm going to come in, say I want to take and select on my configure button. We're going to define the business interaction that we're using in this. Again, in this case, it's Medline sales order. We're going to keep our default of 15 items by default. We're now going to add in our filter item to take and manage who is allowed to see this specific component. So we're going to say add filter item. We're going to come in and say the BP status needs to be my BP status equal to manager approval required. All right, so sent for manager approval. So we're now going to make sure that the information in this particular component is only going to display if the status of the order is set for manager approval. So we're still going to want the order ID. We're going to want to go through and take and bring in our PO number again, just like we did for the last one. And we're going to want to make sure the value coming in is going to be P purchase order. We also want to be able to go through and make sure that if the rush shipping flag is set, we want to have that appear as well. So we've already got the label there. We're going to remove the created and say rush order. And we're going to look for that rush shipping flag being set. So P rush shipping. Okay, so now we can take and save this component. So now I've configured that component. The red box is gone. I've defined it. I need to essentially do the exact same thing set up for my director level approval. So in this case, again, I go into the gear icon in the upper right of the component. So the first thing we need to do on this is take and set up our business interaction type, so our ID for our business interaction. So we're going to take and say we want to have the Medline sales order. We're going to keep the 15 again as our default display amount. We're going to change the actual filter query, again, essentially following the same process. We want the status to be set for director approval. So there we see our sent for director approval. And now that'll make sure that only people with a partner role, which is the same as the director, is going to be able to take in, see this component. And we'll configure it the same way. We're going to go through and take and specify a label. It's going to be our purchase order. And there's our purchase order is the value for that field. Same thing we're going to do with the rush order status. So we're going to leave it as a label. Say rush order, and then we're going to go through and specify that we're looking for the rush order flag. So P-rush shipping. Okay, so now we've gone through and configured both of these components to apply the restrictions that we want to take in and apply to them. All right. So now our save button is active, and we'll select save. If we scroll down, we can now see those additional interactions have been added. So let's go through and take and log in as some users to see how the display of this dashboard varies based on the user logging in. Let's go in and log in as our different buyers, directors, and managers. So let's log out of our admin. And we're going to log in as our buyer. There's our Northwell buyer. We're going to log in there. And now we see Northwell buyer has the credit limit component as well as the configurable products that they've purchased as part of that component. If I log out and log in as the manager, we can see the manager login. They get the same credit limit component as well as the products being purchased component. In this case, they also get to see which orders are out for director approval as well as which orders are there for their approval. And when I log in as the director, we can see the director has those orders that are sitting in the manager's queue as well as the orders that are there for their approval. And then they can always go in and say, I want to approve that, and it'll move in through the workflow. Okay, so this has been a demonstration in defining and setting up a configurable dashboard for your specific BI. Thank you.